Tonight and every Monday night, Downstairs Entertainment, in association with DaveyBoy Productions, presents Rex Rivetter, Private Eye. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the exciting conclusion of Rex Rivetter and the Case of the Farmer's Wife.
The name is Rivetter, Rex Rivetter, license number 698-753, issued by the Police Department of Los Angeles. Occupation? Private detective. I'm working a missing person case for a lady named Virginia Madison. Her husband came to L.A. from small-town Utah a week ago. She hadn't heard from him since. I found Mr. Madison, or rather, his body had found me. He'd been shot 3 times in the chest. After a lovely conversation with a cop named Lieutenant Burke, I tried to contact my client. I traced her to a swanky hotel on Sunset Plaza. When I knocked on her door, she looked surprised. She pulled a gun, and it was my turn to be surprised. I move out of the way just before she squeezes the trigger. She wasn't ready for a scuffle, so taking her cannon away is child's play. But I give her something to remember not to play with big boys' toys.
You hit me!
It's a lot less than you deserve. I don't like getting shot at. I'm kind of funny that way. Why don't we start over? From the beginning? Only this time, play it straight.
I don't know what you mean, Mr. Rivetter.
Oh, can it, sweetheart? Your husband, or whoever he is dead. A nasty case of lead poisoning. The cops think I had something to do with it. I'm tempted to call him up and have him come over so you can explain it yourself.
Oh, Rex, please don't do that. I'm so frightened.
Oh, are we on a first-name basis now?
I'm sorry, Rex. I know I wasn't completely truthful with you, but I didn't know who to trust. I'm in some trouble, and I need your help. You will forgive me, won't you?
She goes from farmer girl to femme fatale without batting an eyelash. I might even have seen a real tremble in her lip. Tell me what's going on. Who was the man that was face down at my desk this afternoon, and how did he get there? And how's it all connected to the nightclub?
All right, Rex. I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. Why don't you sit down? I'll fix us a drink. It's the least I can do, and you look like you could use one. I mix a good scotch and soda.
She wasn't wrong. I don't know if it's the day's events or the early spring heat, but she makes a pretty good highball. Okay, now we got our giggle juice. Why don't you fill me in?
All right, Rex. I'll tell you the whole story.
She tells a tale, all right. The corpse from my office was her husband, although they were estranged. The picture she had given me was from happier times. He had left her a year ago to follow his brother out west, chasing a pipe dream of the good life. Easy money and easier women. That's what he had been promised. Harold Madison phoned his wife 2 weeks ago, but it wasn't about a sick mother. He was sending her a package, and she was not to open it under any circumstances.
And I didn't. At least not at first. But eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I had been working our small farm by myself. We were behind on the mortgage, and the bank was going to foreclose. I was angry, Rex. My husband had left me without so much as a goodbye. He abandoned me and never looked back. Maybe it was spite. Maybe it was his voice on the phone that day, or the note he had sent with the package. I don't know, but I had to know what was in it, so I opened it.
So what was in the package?
Money, Rex. There was money in it. Over $100,000. I didn't know what to do, so I bought a bus ticket and came to Los Angeles. I needed to find Harold. That's when I came to see you.
You still have it?
The money? Yes, I put it in a safe place.
Where?
Somewhere I can get to it whenever I need to.
Smart girl. Why didn't you call the cops?
I don't know, Rex. I wasn't thinking. I was scared. I had been on my own for a year, all alone, and then hearing from Harold out of the blue. I needed a man, Rex. I needed to feel safe, to feel taken care of. You understand, don't you?
She moves in close, sliding across the floor as if it were ice.
You'll take care of me, Won't you, Rex? You'll protect me?
Protect you from what?
I don't know. This money? Someone has got to be looking for it. Harry couldn't have made this kind of dough in a year. It must belong to someone, and they're going to want it, Rex.
So, why don't you give it back?
Because I don't know whose money it is. Besides, I deserve it, Rex. I worked my fingers to the bone. I deserve a break. A fresh start. What about you? Come away with me, darling. Let's start over. $100,000 can get us far away from here.
It's a tempting proposal. Where would we go?
Anywhere. Anywhere our hearts desire.
What if they come looking for us? The people who want the money. You killed your husband for it and tried to frame me. How far do you think they'll go to find the loot?
That's why we should leave. Tonight. I can go and get the money. You buy us airline tickets. Anywhere you want to go.
Fresh start. Beautiful dame. More money than I would make in 2 lifetimes as a gumshoe. All I have to do is go along. It isn't a tough decision at all. All right, Mrs. Madison. We can take the money and run.
Virginia. Or Ginny, Rex. I think if we're going to run away together, we can dispense with the titles. Don't you, darling?
That's not going to work. It sounds too much like my secretary's name. But I suppose if we're blowing town, that won't matter anymore. Why don't I pick up the dough, though? If someone is after it, I wouldn't want them taking pot shots at that pretty head of yours. I might be better equipped to handle whatever bumps there may be on the road. Tell me where you stashed it, and we can meet later.
It's at the bus station. I put it in a locker when I first arrived. But I don't want to wait here. Those gunshots. Someone will have called the police.
Good thinking. All right. I'll tell you what. I'll go get my car, pack a bag, and meet me downstairs in 10 minutes.
All right, darling.
Don't forget to bring the locker key.
What about my gun?
The way you shoot, it's safer with me.
All right, Rex. Wait. A kiss? For luck?
She tastes like scotch and strawberries. Strong and sugar sweet. Make my way down to the front desk and leave instructions with the penguin Virginia had spoken to on her way in. In 6.5 minutes, she comes strolling out a side door and gets in my car. The inevitable arrival of the cops is delayed by the gathering crowd in front of Macombo's. Ella Fitzgerald is opening. I read in the papers later that it was at the behest of Joe DiMaggio's ex-wife. Miss Monroe was there all night long, sitting right up front listening to jazz and drinking hooch, and the fans lined up outside the joint to get a peek. Traffic is backed up for a mile. Luckily, I'm headed the other way. I drive over to Union Station and stand guard as Virginia opens the locker. Number 1219. Inside is an old valise containing $100,000. Bud, the Mick behind the cage I'd spoken to earlier in the day, doesn't even wait for us to clear the doors before he's on the horn. Now it's just a race against time.
Tonight's episode of Rex Riveter Private Detective is brought to you in part by DaveyBoy Productions. For sound design, private voiceover workshops, or to consult with voiceover recording artist Dave Rivas about your project, visit www.daveyboyproductions.com. If your project needs a voice or sound designer, contact Dave Rivas of DaveyBoy Productions. To book your session today, call 619-300-4761. That's 619-300-4761. Or visit www.daveyboyproductions.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we return to Rex Riveter, Private Eye in The Case of the Farmer's Wife.
I take it right on 3rd, and Virginia realizes we aren't headed for the airport.
Where are we going, Rex? Shouldn't we be going in the other direction?
Sure, doll, but I need to make a stop at my office. Type a few last details. Then we're on our way to Mexico or South America, somewhere we can get lost. Jenny's still at work when we arrive.
Oh, Rex. I thought Oh, Mrs. Madison, hello. I didn't expect to see you. Well, don't you look... well.
Hello, Angel. I think we've just about got this case wrapped up. Why don't you knock off for the night? It should be safe to go to your home now.
Oh, sure, Rex. You're the boss. Looks like you've got things well in hand. I guess you got some important debriefing to do with Mrs. Madison?
We won't be long. Good night, Angel.
Good night, boss.
So what was it you needed from your office, darling?
Oh, not much. Drink?
We can get a drink when we're out of this town, Rex. At the airport, on the plane. We can get those little drinks they make in coconuts with umbrellas.
Let's go into my office. It's 10:45. It shouldn't be long now.
What shouldn't be long? What's going on, darling?
Just wrapping up a few details. Like I said, while you were in your hotel room packing, I stopped by the front desk and asked the clerk to call the cops for me. I told them to meet me here at 11.
11? Why?
Because I thought that would give us time to pick up the money and have a little chat. There are still some pieces of the puzzle missing. I figured you could fill me in. Sure you don't want that drink?
Darling, you're teasing me. Please don't.
There are two things I never joke about. One of them's money.
What's the other one?
Zeppo Marx. That guy's just not funny.
Darling.
In here. Come in. I've been expecting you. They're a little ahead of schedule, but that doesn't louse up my plans too badly. The three palookas from outside Macombo's enter my little office. Two of them have pistols drawn. The third, the talker, has a relaxed demeanor, like he's about to tee off at Augusta.
Good evening, Mr. Rivetter. Miss Madison.
Miss Madison? Don't you mean Mrs.?
Indeed I do not, Mr. Rivetter.
What? Who are they and what are they doing here, Rex?
Quiet, you. Go on, you were saying?
This broad goes by the nom de plume of Miss Madison.
Nom de guerre. A nom de plume is specifically for a writer. It translates to pen name and therefore is not correct in this instance. Nom de guerre is just an assumed name under which the user might paint or write or, in this case, act.
Rex, who are these people?
I told you to be quiet.
But where are my manners? We are not yet properly introduced, though perhaps you remember our meeting from earlier.
Yeah, I remember. I owe your friend a little chin music.
Try it.
That is a score that will needs be settled at a later date, I think. Put away your weapon, Mickey. My name is Anthony Solerno. I work for a man that is quite interested in the contents of that valise you retrieved from the bus station. These are two of my associates, Mickey and Vincent. It is unnecessary for you to introduce yourself. You are a private dick named Rex Rivetter, are you not?
That's right, although I don't like that term. But I suppose under the circumstances, that's not important right now. What is important is that your boss is looking for something, and I found it.
Rex!
Quiet, you. Mommy and Daddy are talking.
Yes. My employer has misplaced his walking around money, and while the sum is of no great importance to him, the mere embarrassment of misplacing it is a matter of pride. I hope you understand.
Sure, I get it. Your boss was ripped off and he wants to retrieve the money quietly. Otherwise, someone else might get the idea that he's an easy mark.
Those are your words, Mr. Rivetter, not mine. But I believe you have an appreciation of the current predicament. I will take the package and leave, and provided you do not speak out of turn, there will be no further need for contact between us.
Swell. There's just one problem. The matter of Mrs. Madison here, and the body of her late husband, which you left in my office this afternoon.
I do not wish to be contrary, Mr. Rivetter, but that is not our affair. That is between you, the local law enforcement, and the young lady, the valise, if you do not mind.
I suppose there's not much I can do to stop you from taking it. There's three of you and only one of me, especially with Vinny here, still holding a piece on me.
Once again, I must applaud your ability to grasp a rather unfortunate situation. Mickey, please retrieve the case.
Okay, boss.
We must be on our way. Perhaps we will meet again, Mr. Rivetter, under more fortunate circumstances.
What about the cops?
What about them? They're not due here for another 7 minutes.
This guy was getting spooky. They're going to want a story, and I don't have all the pieces. They can be pretty persuasive if I don't have a good tale to tell. They might get a little rough.
I see. You would like to know how it all happens. All right, but I will need to be brief.
Rex, they're taking our money.
I won't tell you again. Here, take some ice. You don't want that lip to swell.
If you think I'm going to sit here and let them take my money...
Watch it!
Vincent!
Rex!
My apologies, Mr. Rivetter. It was never my intention to involve you further. Miss Madison went for the money, and Vincent reacted.
I suppose it couldn't be helped? What happens now? Mickey shoots me and Miss Madison here, and you all get away scot-free?
When the police arrive and find 3 dead bodies, there will be an investigation, and the possibility of it leading back to my employer is undesirable. Perhaps there is another solution.
You want to leave Vincent here and pin the whole thing on Virginia? She played me for a sap from the start. The minute she stepped into my office, there was a bullseye painted on my back. Once I started getting close to an answer, she threw me off track by luring her husband here and shooting him in my office.
Rex,
It was your ability with a gun that tipped me off. You put 3 bullets dead center in your husband's chest and tried to do the same to me back at the hotel. Quite a shot, aren't you, sweetheart?
My father taught me to shoot when I was a little girl. I never thought it would come in so handy. I wasn't lying when I told you that Harold had left me to work the farm. But he was my brother, not my husband. It was hard work and I was going insane trying to keep the place running. So when he called and told me about the money, I knew what I had to do. I had to find it. But this town was so big, I didn't know where to start. So I hired you.
Came up with a story that would get me to find him for you.
That's right, Rex. I followed you to the bus station and that's when I saw Harold. He was walking in just as I was hailing a cab to follow you after you'd left. So I followed him instead. He took a little bit of money from the locker and then went to a bar. He was with a woman. So I went back to my room and called him at the bar. I lured him to your office with the intention of killing all 3 of you. Harold, your secretary, and you. I had to cover my tracks. It was just lucky that no one else was here. Lucky. So I shot him and called the police, figuring that would implicate you and get me off the hook. Then I took the money Harold had on him and the locker key from his pocket and left.
Why didn't you get the money and run?
I got nervous. I started to wonder where you had gone and who you had talked to. I thought maybe someone was watching the lockers. But I knew I couldn't stay at the boarding house anymore.
So you took the dough and bought yourself some nice new clothes. And you moved to a new spot while you tried to figure out if someone knew where the money was. Once I came knocking on your door, you figured I could get it for you. Is that about right?
Yes, that's right. What tipped you off?
When you took the money and the locker key, you also took his matches. If it hadn't been for the matchbook I found outside your room at Haversham's, I might never gotten onto you.
What are you going to do now?
I think this is a matter for the cops.
Then this is where I must take my leave of you. Good evening, Mr. Rivetter. It has been an interesting turn of events.
Not so fast, Slick. I don't think we've finished our business.
Oh?
I expect your boss will be happy to have this matter resolved, yes?
I expect he will, yeah.
He might even be willing to offer a finder's fee for this walking around money. Say 1%?
I cannot emphasize upon you how much I am impressed with your abilities, Mr. Rivetter. Even if my employer would not be willing to offer such a boon, I myself am quite relieved to have this matter come to a close. A reward. A finder's fee, if you will. It was worth it to me to watch how you work, also. This is America. We are capitalists, Mr. Rivetter. You have performed a service and should be properly compensated.
Maybe it was the predicament I was in. Maybe it was the idea of catching up on back rent or paying Jenny some of the wages she had earned lately. Or maybe it was just that this case had been a real pain in my ass. But I take the money. When the cops come, I turn Virginia Madison over to the boys in blue for the murder of her husband, Harold Madison. Lieutenant Burke doesn't buy the whole story, but enough of it to make an arrest.
There are still some things that don't add up, Rivetter. But we have a murder weapon, and a description from an eyewitness from earlier this afternoon matches Mrs. Madison's description.
Eyewitness?
Some fellow down the hall, a lawyer. He said he saw a lady leaving your office after hearing what sounded like a car backfire 3 times. Provided the ballistics report from the hotel matched the slugs we took from the body from your office earlier, and the fingerprints on the weapon matched the suspect, you're off the hook. But don't worry, Rex, old boy. You're on my list now, and I'll be watching.
Careful, Lieutenant. I'm getting all goose pimply. It had been a long day. I'd been beaten up, shot at, seduced, and accused of murder. And somewhere in there, I managed to solve a case and make a little bit of cabbage. It would have been a perfect time to have a drink and catch 40 winks on the couch in my office. Unfortunately, things don't always work out like we plan.
Hello? Is anyone here?
Go away.
I'm looking for Rex Rivetter.
He flew south for the winter.
Well, I'd like to hire him. I have money.
I'm up. Feast or famine. Sometimes that's the way it is in this business. Little did I know that this case was going to change my life.
Tonight's episode of Rex Rivetter Private Eye stars Randy Coull and Rhiannon McAfee, featuring Steve Murdock and Nick Young, guest starring Debbie David, with special appearances by James Steinberg and Dave Hibler. Tonight's episode was written by Greg McAfee and is transcribed in San Diego, California. It is produced by Downstairs Entertainment, with recording, sound, and editing by DaveyBoy Productions. The Rex Rivetter theme, Nightmare, by the Artie Shaw Orchestra, is used by permission of Music Sales Corp. Rex Rivetter is directed by Rhiannon McAfee, with vocal, sound, and technical direction by Dave Rivas. And if you enjoyed tonight's episode, please find us on the internet at www.dsentertain.com or on the Facebook or the Twitter. Tonight's episode of Rex Rivetter Private Detective is brought to you in part by DaveyBoy Productions. For sound design, private voiceover workshops, or to consult with voiceover recording artist Dave Rivas about your project, visit www.daveyboyproductions.com. And be sure to join us next Monday night, same time and place, for The Case of the Poisoned Parakeet. For Downstairs Entertainment, this is Greg McAfee speaking.